San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria is here in our studio live tonight to answer your questions. Mayor, welcome.
Thank you, Marcella.
Thanks for coming in every month. Tonight we have a lot to get into, so let's start with the big announcement that you made just a few hours ago. Let's talk about something that affects pretty much all San Diegans. Road repairs.
Yes.
We've all hit those potholes. I know we've talked about them before.
Yes.
But now you're looking ahead. You're looking at your Get It Done budget for the next fiscal year. What kind of resources are you trying to invest in these improvements?
More than we ever have in road repair. This budget recommends $140 million for road repair, which is 157 miles that we'll be able to do if approved by the City Council. The good news in this, Marcella, is that a majority of that, 104 of those miles, will be overlay. So this is the heavy duty, rip up the old stuff, put down new full asphalt, basically rebuild the streets. We're getting away from doing the minor repairs and the stuff that may make it look okay for a couple of weeks or months and do the high quality repairs that we need to do to make sure the potholes don't come right back.
Especially because of all the rain we had, that water seeped in underneath those patchwork repairs and just crumbled that asphalt all over again. How much more is this $140 million than in the previous years? Quite
a bit. You know, 157 miles, which by the way is like the distance from downtown San Diego to the Arizona border.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
This is a lot of miles. It's a substantial increase over the previous years, and it's what we've been trying to do. This is my third proposed budget. Each year we've put more money to road repair. But Marcella, one of the things I have to tell you, this process is not easy or fast. Dollars that we appropriated 2 years ago are just now being spent in some circumstances. So what San Diegans are going to see is a huge increase in the amount of road repair, even without the passage of this budget. But I definitely am asking the City Council to pass this budget as is, give us that money to go do those 157 miles in the year ahead.
Okay, and think about those potholes when you're sitting in traffic because of all the detours that we're going to have to deal with.
Yes.
Mayor, let's talk about Title 42. It expires 1 week from tomorrow. It's a federal issue, we know, but as a border city, of course, we're going to see the impact of the influx of migrants. I know you've been to Washington, you've asked for funding, but it's here now. And we want to know, our viewers want to know, what is the city doing to prepare in terms of shelter, resources, outreach? What's the plan?
Well, the county is our lead agency here in San Diego on this, and we're going to assist and back them up as best we can, along with key local nonprofits, groups like Jewish Family Service and Catholic Charities. They're the boots on the ground. We often play an assistive role. But Marcel, you have it exactly right. We will not be able to service the people that we may receive with the lifting of Title 42 without significant additional federal resources. And right now, I don't know that we'll be getting any of those. And so we're going to continue to ask for not just the resources, but the transparency. No one wants to see what's called street releases, where folks are not able to be kept in CBP custody, but are instead released to the streets without any support. That is far from ideal. And so my hope is that we can have that level of transparency and the resources, work with our nonprofit partners in the county to avoid that. But bottom line, Marcella, if your viewer is wondering what can we do, what we need is Congress to pass comprehensive immigration reform. Until we have sensible immigration laws, we will continue to see the influx of people who are trying to come here through other means, and that's what will happen with the lifting of Title 42. When
you were in Washington, D.C. earlier this year, and you asked Homeland Security Director about getting more funding, what was the answer?
Well, they are making a commitment. You heard the President outline a number of new steps that are in advance of lifting of Title 42 and the direction of 1,500 additional Border Patrol agents to the border to deal with this. But Marcel, it's a very long border. This is San Diego to Texas, and all of that is fair game. And so I believe that we'll do the very best we can with our existing resources. But you may recall the unaccompanied minors who were coming to San Diego about 1.5 years ago. We know what the federal government can do when they provide robust resources, and that means caring for each of these individuals, getting them to their sponsors, and allowing them to follow the legal process. Street releases is what we should avoid at all costs, and we're going to need federal resources to do that.
You know, just having you talk about the term street release, and you see the lines of people already forming at the border with still 1 more week left to go, and you can't help but think of the existing problem that we already have, the homelessness crisis that we're already dealing with, and this is just going to make things worse. Let's talk about your plans to address the people who are already here who are homeless. We've talked about bans on encampments altogether. We've interviewed a number of people who say they've been rearrested, and they just get back out on the streets. It's a cycle. What can be done to break this cycle?
Well, we need to build more housing, we need to provide more shelters, and we need to provide services. The truth is, Marcella, is that we've provided tens of millions of dollars of those kinds of resources, and I think that it is reasonable to pass legislation to address encampments in light of those resource investments. So I'm very supportive of Councilmember Whitburn's unsafe camping ordinance that will go before the City Council later this month.
But where will they go?
Well, so to talk about unsafe camping is only half the equation. The other part is our safe sleeping initiative. I've put $5 million in our city's proposed budget to create a place where we can say, not here, go over there. But here's the thing, you still are going to have a level of people who will decline those services, and that is not acceptable. To your question about continual cycling in and out of jail, that's outside of my purview. We don't run the jail system, we don't pass the laws, and that's why I meet regularly with our law enforcement partners, begging them to allow us to book people into custody when they break the law. I don't care if they're homeless or they're sheltered. Either way, if you break a law in my city, I want to hold you accountable, and that has not necessarily been the case during the pandemic when we had the inability to book people into jail, when we didn't have bail and other tools. Some of those have come back, and that's a part of why that, coupled with the robust resources, over $80 million in this proposed budget, there is the ability to be able to enforce and to expect a certain level of order on our streets that are not always in evidence.
Of course, we need order. A lot of people also say you shouldn't criminalize homelessness, but the rent, as we all know, living here costs so much money. So I think the affordable housing, getting that temporary shelter in place to give people a stepping stone to earn enough money. A lot of these people do work.
A lot of them do work, and for those folks, many of them are in our shelter system. Marcella, one of the things I want your viewers to know, the city of San Diego has 57% of the homeless population in our county, 57%. Wow. The city of San Diego provides 85% of the shelters. Other cities need to step up.
Okay.
I can't do this with my budget alone. The city of San Diego taxpayers can't fund the needs of taxpayers in other cities who are declining to provide the shelter and the affordable housing you're describing. The city of San Diego is designated by the state of California as one of 7 pro-housing cities in the entire state. We are building the housing. You've seen the cranes and the construction all over town. We've increased shelter capacity by 70%. When we do all of these things, we are within our legal rights to expect people to utilize the services we're providing and provide relief to neighbors that are overcome by encampments, the school children who have to walk in the middle of the street to get to their classrooms because the sidewalks are encumbered. That isn't acceptable, and there's a better way to do this.
Well, hopefully with the resources being dedicated toward it, we will slowly start to see these numbers, or quickly start to see these numbers dwindle. We'll continue talking about homelessness and a lot of other issues, Mayor. We appreciate you joining us every month to sit down and address some of these issues from our viewers. Thanks so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Marcella.